Welcome back to the One Shot Show where GMs go to level up. And let me ask you a question. Are you sitting comfortably right now? Are you happy with your main RPG? Are you satisfied every Sunday when you sit in the GM's chair and you pull that book out and you run the same system that you've been running for the last 5 years? Are you truly happy? Or is there something out there better for you? This episode, we are going to tell you what you want to play. This episode is called Pitch a System. Paddy and I have both brought a system to the studio. We do not know what the other has brought, and we are going to pitch that system to both each other and you, the listener, to see if maybe it's better than whatever the fuck it is you're doing.
Okay. I'm very, very excited for this one because I know that we've thrown around a lot of systems on this show over the years, and I know a bit about some of them, but some of them I'm kind of like, I wish that I had my elevator pitch as to why I should hop in. And I can see, for spoilers, I can see the book that is sitting down here next to me. So, Matt, what is your pitch? Like, pitch me a system that I should have a go-to at.
I have brought, and I think this will surprise absolutely no one, I have brought with me to pitch Pathfinder 2nd Edition. There's a couple of reasons that I'm bringing this one. And I also want to be clear, this isn't my favorite RPG system. It's my go-to right now. This is mostly what I'm running. I wouldn't say it's my favorite for a variety of reasons. It's not even the fantasy system that I'm currently the most excited by. That position is currently being occupied by Draw Steel. However, I have brought Pathfinder 2nd Edition for a very simple reason. And we talked about it a little bit way back when we talked about how to break up with 5th edition. And that is because this is, in my opinion, the ideal system to go to if you are sick and tired of 5th edition, but you're not sick and tired of high fantasy. If you want to essentially stay in that same kind of territory, but you want to play a different system, you want to maybe have your needs met a little bit more closely than by what 5th edition does. And Lord knows I've pissed and moaned about places where 5th edition is lacking in rules. This sure as shit has them. That's kind of the core of it. And I talked about this a little bit recently. The original Pathfinder was built off the Open Game License. It was literally built off the 3rd edition Open Game License. People colloquially called it 3.75 at certain points because that was essentially what it was. What 3.5 was to 3rd edition, where it was a refinement and a sort of reimagining of certain things. Pathfinder took that another step. Pathfinder 2nd edition, however, has then gone ahead and developed in a new direction. Right? It's still built off the same Open Game License. Compared to 5th edition, it will maybe feel a bit more reminiscent of something like 3.5, but it has taken that same idea of how can we streamline and simplify, take some of the same design ideas like removing ivory tower design and all sorts, and deliver something that's different. You will like this system if you like elegance in your rules. So, to sell you on why you might like Pathfinder, there's the setting, the familiarity, the fact that you're sort of still playing in that same realm of very familiar fantasy, which means you don't have to focus on new tropes and new settings. You can just focus on the new rules. Because the rules, they're a little bit beefier. People use the word crunchy. They are technically crunchier, but I wouldn't say they're more complicated or more difficult. And that's why I use the word elegance. Couple of key features of that. First is the 3-action system. The way combat works in the system, and if you're familiar with 5th edition, this is going to absolutely rock your sweet world. On your turn, you have 3 actions. You can spend those actions however you would like, but you only have 3 actions. Everything is boiled down to being a certain number of actions. So, for example, moving is an action. If you take the move action, you move up to your speed. You could take the move action 3 times on your turn if you just want to move really, really far. You have actions like strike, which is their term for attack, which is make an attack. You then have what's called the multiple attack penalty or multiple strike penalty, which is subsequent attacks on the same turn incur a negative modifier. This immediately opens up very cool design space. Certain class options might give you reductions to that penalty. So you might have one ranger who spends 1 action loading their crossbow bolt, 1 action enchanting their crossbow bolt, 1 action firing their crossbow bolt. And they've got all these modifiers to make it more accurate. It hits, and it hits like a goddamn truck. And then over here is the other ranger whose turn looks like, take this special action that lets me do 2 attacks for 1 action, take another 2 attack actions because I'm fishing for critical hits. And hey, look at that. I even got one. Now this keys off a whole bunch of other stuff. The guy doing 4 attacks a turn feels very different to the guy doing 1 attack a turn, but they're built off the same chassis. It's elegance, and I think that's really cool. It also means that a lot of things in the system get boiled down to a couple of very simple conditions. I'll take 2 key examples. The first is the slowed condition, and its sort of counterpart, the hastened condition. Slowed, you get 1 less action a turn. Hastened, you get 1 more action a turn.
Cool.
Really, really smooth, really straightforward. Rather than something like the haste spell being, you get this bonus and you move double speed, and you get an extra action, but you can only use it to do these certain things. No, the haste spell gives you the hastened condition with a couple of other kickers, and the hastened condition does this particular thing. And there might be other things in the game that can give you the hastened condition as well. Fantastic stuff. The other one is off guard. It used to be called flat-footed. It's now called off guard.
It's a little bit cooler.
Yeah, this is the very fundamental thing. A lot of people think that Pathfinder compared to 5th edition is very mathy. I don't think that's true. You're working in very, very low, very consistent numbers. So where in 5th edition, something might give you advantage or disadvantage. So, for example, you have put some kind of debuff on a creature. You might have advantage on your rolls against them. And you'll note a lot of people use the optional rule for flanking, where if you are sort of on either side of a creature, you get advantage on your attack rolls against them. Pathfinder gives you something called the off-guard condition. If a creature is off guard, other creatures have, they suffer a -2 penalty to their armor class. That's it. That's how it works. It reduces their armor class. Now, a lot of things give you the off-guard condition, such as being flanked. So now we have flanking in a way that doesn't blow the math way out of the water. It's very discreet. It's a very low number. It's never more than -2. It's never less than -2. It's always -2. Now let's take something like say the stunned condition. The stunned condition will say you have this adverse effect and you can't take these actions and you can't do this thing and you are off guard.
Okay.
So that reduction is now baked into a whole bunch of other conditions. If you are incapacitated, you are off guard and blah, 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 blah. If you have this condition, you are off guard and these other things. There are conditions that don't necessarily key off guard, but again, it's elegance. We can boil a lot of mechanical complexity down to one very simple thing that you need to remember. Now, what this means in my games is my players are often looking to swing the math in their favor. They're going, right, the cleric's got bless up. That gives us a +1 to this, and I've got this particular benefit. My weapon is magical. That gives me a +1 here. There's a limit to how you can stack those little incremental modifiers. I won't go into the nuts and bolts of it, but it stops it from getting way out of hand where you've got to keep track of like 8 different modifiers. And then the enemy has this reduction to their armor class from the spell that I have up, and they're off guard. Great. We've tilted the numbers by 5 in our favor. And a lot of what you're trying to do is synergize with your party, with your other players, to create those opportunities, to create those situations, so that the guy who wants to do one big hit and hit like a train is probably going to be able to do it. And the guy who's fishing for crits is also going to have a great time hitting this creature. Everyone's fantasy gets very comfortably fulfilled. That's why you'd like Pathfinder 2nd Edition. You don't have to learn a whole lot of it for it to start making sense, and it's an extremely elegant system under the hood.
No, I immediately in your description of it, like translating, I can see how I can translate my 5e thinking onto that. And even as a new player, that idea of like, instead of having, you have a bonus action, a reaction, a free action, and a normal action, which is always one of the big first throwers, to go like, you have 3 things you can do on your turn, and then I imagine as you level up, there are new actions that like plug in and then around there.
Yep. And actually leveling up is a really interesting thing. I won't go too deep into this because I recognize that this has been a very long elevator ride so far. I know this sounds really dumb, but I was confused by something the first time I played 5th edition. I had a friend at my table who was playing a rogue subclass, and they'd leveled up, and they go, hold on, do I get to pick between this thing or this thing? No, they got both, but they came from video games where they were used to going, I level up, I make a decision.
Yes.
I level up, I make a decision. In 5th edition, you actually make very few decisions. You make some at level 1.
You're on a railroaded class track, mostly.
In Pathfinder, every time you level up, you're making a decision. It basically says at every even level you pick a class feat. At every 5th level, you pick an ancestry feat. At every 4th level, you pick a general feat. Doesn't matter what level up, you're just picking something. You always get to be making cool decisions for how you build out your character bit by bit by bit, and it gives you a lot of facility to sort of readjust and course correct based on the things that are actually happening in your game. You might have this idea for a build, you sit down at the table and go, actually, what the party really needs is this so that we can unlock this synergy. And you can very proactively change your character lean further and further in that direction, which is always a good time from a player's perspective.
Super cool.
What system have you brought, Paddy?
I have brought a system that when I played it, fantasy felt magical again to me. In the same way as when I was reading Earthsea for the first time, magic felt magical. The way that my favorite literary works of magical fiction, I think about the magic in The Name of the Wind. I think about the magic in... Have you ever read Robin Hobb? Robin Hobb is my favorite fantasy author. Oh, they're so good. The way that magic in Robin Hobb's book worked. The way that when I first stepped into tabletop role-playing, the way that the fantasy that I was chasing that was not met and another fantasy was there, present and ready for me. This very codified...
Brandon Sanderson.
Very Brandon Sanderson.
Jack Vance. Magic has rules.
Absolutely. The magic of Pathfinder, of D&D 5e, feels like that. And the system that I'm pitching today, which is called Legend in the Mist. Have you heard of Legend in the Mist?
Nope, not at all. Yeah,
it's
all right.
so beautiful. Legend in the Mist made me feel like that again at the table. I don't know if it's your year-long, every-week campaign, but for a campaign to sit down at for 5, 6, 7 sessions, as I have with it, and to tell a story with friends who are seeking that same thing of going like, what got me into fantasy and how can I find a system that will help me find that joy in it here as I play as an adult, I would go for Legend in the Mist.
So how is it doing that then?
It's doing this through a character sheet that has no stats on it, no numbers on it. You have a character sheet that is still detailed, but it is divided into 4 themes for your character. Your theme has a title, like Town Guard. And then under Town Guard, you, without any book telling you exactly what you can and cannot write 5 tags for your theme. What makes a Town Guard a Town Guard? So maybe you have a blunt sword and a trusty horse. Maybe you have a father who was in the job before you, and that's what you would write down. A father who was in the job before me. So this could also be
character traits. You
Absolutely.
know, I'm very loyal. I'm very practical. I'm I don't know, not very well educated.
Absolutely.
Right.
You have a theme like that. So on one hand, you could have Town Guard. That's one of your themes. And your next theme is bullheaded. And then you develop your tags for that theme. You end up with 4. Beautiful little list of 6 different words for each theme. Those are what are put down on the table in front of you. And then you begin role play with this as your base. And Legend in the Mist sells itself as a rustic fantasy system, a very grounded, very human-feeling fantasy system, but they also say in all of their source books, like, we believe this system can stretch out to incorporate many different tastes of fantasy. We're just too young to know yet. This system released this year alongside your Draw Steels and your Daggerhearts,
wow.
But it's relatively small by comparison. If you were to look it up online, type it in, you will see the most incredible, most beautiful art for this system. And the way that it plays out at the table, you sit down, you have your 4 characters with their themes. In the game that I played, we used the quick start characters to build off. So we had the Wise One, they're called the Red Guard, basically a Town Guard archetype. And then the last one is the Apple Picker, and you're a kid with a bushel of apples. And one of your themes is a bushel of apples, the starting theme, and all the things you could do with it. You are presented with a story and a problem. Narrator, choose your own adventure. In this case, we had, for the very first time in this township's history, something of the supernatural stepping into a town that up until this point was entirely non-magical. We had an undead essentially rise for the first time, and these characters confronted it. You present a danger. For example, the undead shambles toward you. What do? The player goes, I do this. As a GM, you go, okay, what words on your sheet, what themes are speaking to this action? And they go, well, I'm bullheaded and I don't know what I'm doing. I have my trusty sword and I draw it. But also I see here that what's a negative trait that a character like this could have?
Clumsy.
Yeah, I'm clumsy. And you've written that down on there. So I have a +2 to this roll from here, and I have a -1 from here. You roll your 2d6. There's a fixed DC system in the game, a tiers of success system. And then you storytell from there. And what you're doing is you are drawing words from your sheet to play out as the bonuses to your action, and then you as the GM need to know your characters very well, which I love to do as a GM anyway, in order to go, but what about this, that, and the other? And then what happens if you fail is that then you get to grow inside that theme. You get to go, how does this theme develop for my character?
I flubbed the roll because I am quite clumsy, and now I am always nervous when charging in out of my depth, where previously I might have been quite gung-ho.
Yeah, and there are tiers of power that still come through in this game. There are ways of elevating your themes, of rising from a town guard to Knight of the Realm, and what that might look like for you. But it brought back to me my love of words and writing in role-playing, and seeing that alive in my players as well. And I had 2 players, very mechanically minded players, and then 2 others who were very much like, in 5th edition, happy for almost me to provide a character sheet and then coach them through it. But the level of independence in the writing of their own characters, the writing of their own characters, super high. And then the investment in seeing the progress through, even though I was sitting back as GM going like, you're not getting any more powerful as a character. You're just getting to evolve your themes or consider like what words flow in. But the flow onto the story and the change in characters and the way that they played characters was enormous. Like the way that when a theme evolved into something completely different or devolved based on what they decided, they would start playing that character differently, but in a way that felt organic, like you're watching Jaime Lannister loses his hand and becomes a different person.
Which is funny because that's something that I like to do a lot of in my 5th edition games. And it very much feels like I am putting that in on top of it. And by the way, look, when people are asking us things like, what do you mean when you say rules to support the narrative? What do you mean when you say frameworks to support roleplay? That's what we mean.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we mean.
It's like this whole system is devised for you to really engage with your character, their traits, their flaws, and then evolve based on that. My last part of my pitch is that you can head online now to Son of Oak Games, and their greatest system, the thing that got me into it, their greatest introduction, is that they have a single choose-your-own-adventure comic where you play it by yourself with 2 dice that teaches you that system super robustly.
We'll put a link for that in the...
it's so cool. But yeah, it's Legend in the Mist, which is... I find it hard to remember the name of the system. But it's an incredible time.
Very cool. And like the thing that's been so fascinating about that is those are both just within the realm of fantasy. Look, you can go well beyond fantasy. Look, do you really like Star Wars? Try Edge of the Empire. Do you really like Fallout? Try the Fallout role-playing system.
Superheroes? Try Masks.
Yeah, if you like sort of grounded urban sort of light sci-fi fantasy, try Kids on Bikes, try Tales from the Loop, Things from the Flood. Man, there are so many systems out there. I could have pitched you a half dozen. I picked this one because I know it's a bit of a meme that Pathfinder 2nd edition fixes this, but yeah, if you have a gripe with 5th edition, this is one direction for your fix. This is the one that goes deeper on the mechanics. This is the one that's going to give you the rules to support the things that you feel are missing. But you quite rightly point out, if what you're missing actually is that the rules don't feel like they support the role play, the narrative, the interaction, the story that you want to tell, try, what was it? Figures in the Mist?
Legend in the Mist.
Legend in the Mist.
I know, can't hold on to it, but once you play it, I think you will be inspired.
I'd certainly hope so. This has been a really cool episode. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We know it's been a very long elevator ride, and we will see you in the next one. If you're enjoying listening to The One Shot Show, why not support us on Patreon? Go to patreon.com/OneShotShow, where you'll be able to find video versions of our episodes, long-form bonus episodes that we release every single month, access to our community Discord server. You can pose questions for our special Q&A episodes, and if you're back at the higher tiers, you can even vote on what questions we cover in our show. Check it out.